Hello, hello, hello. Do not adjust your sets. It is just me today without my background. I did have my background on and then realized I was wearing green and I was a floating head. I should have stayed. It was a good look. So James is not with me, not because I've banished him, because last week you might have noticed didn't let me get very many words in edgeways. But it's not because of that. It's because he's been booked to speak and he's off somewhere being paid to speak. He might now dial in and protest at what I've said. But anyway, I've got a great show for you, and we're going to find out a lot of things from our guest. So let me tell you a bit about our guest. For almost all of his career, our guest has been ripping up the rule books and rewriting processes to create greater impact and superior results. Being first and foremost a problem solver, seeing opportunity where others see challenge. No stranger to adversity, he has outshone competitors, weathered recessions, built profitable businesses, raised strong and fiercely loyal teams, and has earned a reputation as a remarkable thinker with a rare ability to inspire. So no pressure there, a lot to live up to. Please welcome Peter Turley. Peter, how
Good
are you?
afternoon. You well?
Yeah, I'm great. I mean, what an intro. We are expecting you now to help us with everything that you've achieved. I'm very well. And just tell everybody, where are you? They'll probably guessed it from your
Well, I'm
accent.
in the kitchen. Uh,
I fell into that one. Boom. Yeah, okay. In the world, Peter.
in the word. So I'm in Dublin, Ireland. So yeah. And after that intro, God, what am I supposed to do? I think I'll just run away.
Well,
Uh,
I'm going to start with a tough question, seeing as you've set yourself up there with that
yes.
powerful intro. I'm just going to go for the jugular. So tell me, what do you see are the biggest differentiators between somebody who's successful and somebody who's really successful?
Okay. Are we talking in just speaking or in general?
Well, I don't know. Is there a difference between speaking and in general? Can you answer both for me? Do two
We
different
see.
answers?
I tell you what I'm going to do. Right. Let's not pretend it's got to do with anything to do with say speaking or business or the business of speaking or anything like that. Okay. What
Right.
I'm going to do is we're going to have a little bit of fun actually and a little bit of interaction with the audience. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is if everybody has handy, say a piece of paper. Okay. Now, just grab a piece of paper, tear out a sheet of paper, or whatever it is, right? So take an A4 piece of paper and fold it in half so that
Oh,
you kind of have, I think it's about A5. Does that make sense? So
yes.
that you
Okay.
end up with something about that size. Okay? Like that. Okay, you've got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my beautiful assistant here, my my flip chart, right? Hope
Right.
everybody can see that. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is on your pieces of paper that you have there at the top, write the number 100. Okay.
Yep.
Then down the left hand margin, I want you to put the number 5,
Yep.
the number 70, and the number 25.
Yep.
Leave it to me. We all
I'm
good?
with you.
Everybody
Yeah.
got that ready to go? Okay. So, what I want to do is the number, the 100 there. So I think everybody will understand this. My local gymnasium just up the road there, second week in January after Christmas, everybody who's eaten a bit too much turns up, right? And they get roughly about 100 new applicants that second week in January. Okay.
Right.
So we can picture the scene. All right. So the first 25% of the people who turn up, they arrive in on their first day. The receptionist says, "Hi, lovely to see you. Would you like a trainer to show you around and show you how everything works?" And they go, "No, I know what I'm doing." Right. How did they know what they're doing? Because they saw an episode of Prison Break once or something like that, right? With everybody out in the yard doing the stuff, right? So what happens is they march off, they get into their gear, they arrive into the weights room, they go for the very heaviest set of weights that they can find, right? That somebody's just finished using in the corner, and they get a good grip of it, right? And they start pushing. And what happens? The bar stays where it is and they vanish, right? Now, and after a couple of goes of this, they realize they can't do it. Okay. And they didn't know how to do this. And it was all very embarrassing. So they run downstairs, right? And they peep around the corner. And as soon as the receptionist's back is turned, they're away out the door like a hare, right? And gone. Now, the question I have, I suppose for everybody, but mainly for you, Maria, is when do they come back?
We they're probably going to be suffering from very painful muscles, aren't they, after having tried to
Well,
lift? When
if
do
they've
they,
even tried it, but
do they
generally that type of person, right?
when do they come
When do
back?
they come back?
Probably after Easter when they put on weight again.
Or most of them, in actual fact, it's never.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so write the word never down beside the 25, right? And the other
Okay.
thing about the nevers is they'll go home to their husband or their wife or their work colleague the next day. They'll say, "Ah, yes, you were down the gym yesterday. How did you get on?" And immediately go, "Oh, what a terrible place. They were all very rude. And the swimming pool, oh, it smelled of wee wee. And the and the showers were full of mold. I'm never going back." So what are they full of? They're full of excuses.
Ah, okay.
Right? Now, and more importantly, whose fault is it that it didn't work out for them?
Well, it's their fault, right?
No, it's never. It's always someone else.
Oh, okay.
Right? Oh, they were so rude down there. I hated them. It made me feel really bad about myself. Right? It's always there. Right? And
Okay.
we know these people. Okay? You should sell training to them. Right? And they'll say, "Ha ha ha, don't need your training. You should pay me, Maria, to give the training." You know the types, right?
I've had those apply for my training programs
Oh yeah, of course you
and
have.
offer to deliver them for me.
Of course you have. Right. So anyway, that's the first 25. The next 70, they turn up their first go. Now remember something. What they've done is they've probably bought their gym membership like they buy car insurance. You know, they ring David Lloyd or whoever it is. They say, "Hey, what's your annual rate for using the gym?" And they get a price, and then they ring the next one and the next, and they're chipping off £5 here and £10 there, you know, and trying to get the cheapest they can get, right? So they turn up. And it's like, again, the receptionist says, "Well, how you getting on? Do you want a trainer to what?" And immediately goes, "Oh, don't you try and sell me any add-ons. I'm wise to you," right? I'm not paying for anything, right? I spent weeks getting the cheapest. I'm not paying for any more. But have you got any free classes? And the receptionist said, "Oh, actually, now you mention it, we've a free spin class on a Tuesday at midday. That'll do." Right? So they arrive down to the spin class. Have you ever been to a spin class? Do you know what I mean by a spin
I would
class?
never do it. It looks like torture to me.
It is. But you know the thing, right? Lines and
Yeah, yeah.
lines of the bicycles and everybody's sweating and it's all great, right? So anyway, you can imagine the scene. There's people doing the thing, and there's a trainer with a headset like this, walking up and down, shouting and roaring their head off. And every so often, they'll pass by somebody and they give them a little clap on the back, and the person looks up from their sweatiness, and the trainer goes, "Keep it up. You're doing a great job." Right? And the person goes, "Ah, oh, thanks very much. I'm doing a great job." Right. Now, here's the question I have for you. If the trainer is given to you for free by the gymnasium, what does it say about the trainer?
Well, either they're included in the price, or
Or they're a
maybe they're not.
trainee or something, or not
Yeah, or
very
maybe
good,
they're
right?
not the best. Yes.
Maybe they're
Yeah.
not the best, right? Now,
Yeah.
if they're not the best, and
Hmm.
therefore they're the person that's shown you how to do it, when they say you're doing a great job, can you physically actually be doing a great job?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's
Probably
not
not.
possible, is it?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So the question we have to ask ourselves is, when the person said, "Keep it up, you're doing a great job," and they looked up and they smiled, what did they get? What did they get from that trainer person? Right? Now, here is the thing. This is what they get. It's a term. I want everybody to write this down. It's 4 letters. VFFA. Okay? It's a technical term that I have coined. Can you
You're not
guess
going to
what it
swear,
stands
are you?
for?
You're not going to swear, Peter, are you? I'm getting worried now. Getting hot
It's,
under the collar.
it stands for validation for fuck all, right?
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. You were very naughty. We're going to be off the air in a minute. So, okay.
Anyway, the point I'm making is, right, that's what they get. Okay?
Mm.
They're being told they're doing a great job when they're not really doing a great job. Okay? Now, bring it one step further. What does the trainer get out of that? You see, when the person is made feel good and they get the VFFA for themselves, when they're on the way out that day, they'll stop at reception and they say, Michael up there was really good. He made me feel great today. What has Michael now got? More VFFA, right? And this circle, right? You've seen it a million times, okay? This circle just keeps going around. Nobody's getting any better, neither the trainer or the customer, but they're all giving each other thumbs up, right?
Okay, I'm
Now,
thinking about, you know what I'm doing now, Peter? I'm thinking about it in the terms of the world of speaking, and I'm doing some
we'll come back
parallels
to
here.
that,
Yeah, I know.
right?
I'm
We'll
getting
come
some
back to
parallels
that,
here. Okay, okay, yeah.
So that leaves us, take the 25 and the 70 away from the 100, we're left with the 5, okay? Those 5, they come in, right? And I'm sure you've seen this, right? There's very often in these places, behind the reception desk, there's a big poster, right? With a big fit looking couple, you know, with the muscles and the 6-pack, and they're usually glistening, right?
It's me and you, isn't it, when we go to the gym?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's us, right? And they take one look and they point at the poster to the reception and say, I want to look like that. Give me the trainer. I don't care what it costs. Give me the right trainer. And do I need a dietitian? And do I need whatever? Just put me down for the lot, right?
Mm.
And what do? They go and do it.
Mm.
Right? And they do everything. And this guy says, well, you need to be in the gym 10 hours a week, 2 hours, 5 days a week, and we'll get you looking like that in 8 months or a year. And what happens? In 8 months or a year, they are there. Are you with me?
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
with you.
call those 5 the doers.
Okay, I think I'm getting this. I've noticed, of course, and I'm sure everybody has, that this adds up to 100.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that 100 is a percentage, right?
Yes. Now, this is me talking about the gym.
Yeah, I can see that works. That works across everything.
And we can picture these people the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Now, well, why am I bringing this into a podcast that's about speaking and business and or speaking business? Right. And that's because in the last 36 years while I've been working, every company I've been an employee of, every department of those companies, every club that I was a member of outside of work, every society I've ever been a part of, every association I've ever been a part of, 25% of the people that I met never did a tap. We're full of excuses and everything was someone else's fault. 70% were the VFFA. They did the bare minimum and at the end of the year wanted a promotion for it. Right? But 5% did all the work. Right? Now, I've actually looked into this. Even from a business perspective. In the US last year, the top 5% of salespeople across the whole nation did 40% of the business. And I guarantee you that most people watching this right now, if they went and did the testing and looked into their own organizations or the places that they've been, that's exactly what they would find. Okay? So this is the big difference, okay? Is if you fall into the never box, if you fall into the VFFA box, and you don't go into the doer box, you're never going to make it in any industry, in any level, in any, to really make it. And we asked the question earlier, the difference between the ordinary and the really successful. Okay. And this is exactly the same thing. It's probably the same in the UK. Again, in Ireland, 25% of all businesses started don't make it to their second birthday. They run out of seed money and they've never made any money and they fold. 70% don't make it to their 10th birthday. Only 5% go on to become what the person who started dreamed of in the first place. Okay. So is it any different in anything else? And how does that relate to, say, for example, the speaking?
To speaking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so first things first, what I want to make sure is that everybody has their piece of paper with their piece on there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Got it.
One of the things you asked me was if I could give some tips as we go along.
Yes, please.
So here's what I have with my piece of paper like that in my office. I have this sellotape to the wall just above and just behind my computer screen. And every day before I stop and leave work, I look at it and I ask myself, was I a doer today or was I a VFFA?
Mm.
And I've been doing it long enough I can be honest with myself. And actually, some days, yes, I'll turn around and go, yeah, I was a bit VFFA today. I didn't make all the calls I should have made, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. And I need to pick it up tomorrow because I am a doer and I want to stay being a doer and I don't want to fall into this trap. Okay. So, anybody who's really, really, really interested in moving forward, your first thing to do is put that on the wall, ask yourself that question every day, and that will start to change your mindset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, there is a question there. What if you don't know what to do?
Now, this is what we're going to talk about now.
Mm.
Okay, let me get rid of this thing, okay, so it's not a distraction anymore. Okay. So, what are the real characteristics of the doers? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. What are the characteristics of the doers? And the first thing is they always give more. Okay, always. Many years ago, when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a racing cyclist, right? Ireland had always been such a small population. We're generally rubbish at sport. But in the 1980s, we had the world's #1 professional cyclist. And I wanted to be like him, right? A guy called Sean Kelly. And I started to race at the age of 15 and I was rubbish at it and I couldn't keep up with the others and they were all fitter than me and they were all everything. And I came home one Sunday after a race where I literally was last over the line. And I walked in the kitchen. My dad was standing there with his cup of tea and he went, well, and I went last. And he went, okay, do you want to know how to keep up with everybody or do you want to know how to win? I said, I want to know to win. Now, he played rugby for Ireland and he was an international rugby coach and all that kind of stuff. So he was worth listening to, right? And he said to me, find out the people today that came first to fifth over the line. Go out in a training spin with them, interrogate them, find out how many miles they do every week, and then copy them. If you copy them, you'll be able to be as good as them. Or you can find out how many miles they do a week and then you can do 100 more.
Wow. Did you do that?
And so that's what I did. I didn't enter a race for 8 weeks. I found out what the others were all doing and then I added an extra 100 to it, right? And when I next enter a race, do you think I had a problem hanging on?
No.
Do you think I had a problem making a strategic decision or watching what was happening around me?
No.
No.
Did you win though? I need to know. Did you win?
I actually won the very first one I entered after doing what my father said. And for
Wow.
3 years, I was never not in the first 3 of a race that I entered. And then at 18, beer and girls turned up on my periphery, and that was the end of that. But it's a lesson that I've never, ever, ever forgotten, Maria. Okay. And this is the point. I see people all the time, and they're trying to get paid what I'm paid by doing less.
Mm.
How many times do you think it works? Right. And one of the people that I won't say people, yeah, group of people that I consistently watch what they do is U2. They grew up in our town here, our little town of Dublin, and started 40 years ago, 40 plus years ago, and they are still at the very top of the world. And I remember going to concerts in the 1980s. I went to see Queen, Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC, all these people. And in those days, the average that a band spent was 100,000 sterling on a stage set up, the whole thing to go touring. And I'll never forget, in 1992, U2 went on 1993, they went on a European tour with the first stage ever that cost 1,000,000 sterling. So not twice the price, not 3 times the price, 10 times the price. It was like nothing anybody had ever seen. Turned them into global superstars. And from that day forth, they have been bigger and better and more expensive every single time that they go on tour. But how many people do you think 30 years ago said to them, that's a stupid idea, that's a waste of time, that'll never work?
Mm,
Right? And yes, living proof, they have made more money in music than anybody else. And they're still at it
brilliant.
40 years later. Okay. So if they're not living proof, right, that you give more, and we come back to that in a moment, okay, about how that relates to speaking. Okay. So the other thing is that, and I'm going to use the analogy as well of music. Who's your favorite band?
Well, sadly, it's actually a musician. He's sadly no longer with us. Prince was my favorite.
Prince. Okay. Did you ever see Prince live?
Yes.
You did. Okay. Now, you went and you stood there and he did whatever it was, 15, 20 songs in the evening. Pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't
Exactly
standing,
as
I
you
was dancing.
dancing. Yes. Get the atmosphere going. Right? Did he ever stop halfway through a song and go, give me a moment. Where was I?
No,
No. But how often do we see that with speakers?
I do it all the time.
Right? Now, so this is the bit I want to talk about, right? Because this is, again, this is the 100 miles bit, okay? I was at a conference not that long ago where a supposed guru on these topics talked about the fact that so many speakers practice something between 5 and 10 times, have it pretty much down pat, stand up in front of an audience, get halfway through it, and then have a blank in the middle, right? And it's happened to many of us, right? And his advice for that was, then don't practice because you'll only mess it up. Just try and talk off the cuff. If Prince decided to go on tour and not rehearse and practice his stuff and just do it off the cuff, how long of a 2 hour set do you think he'd have lasted?
Well, do you know what? There is also the argument, the fact that when you've done it so often, as Prince did, because he used to go off and do, just what do they call it when they jam together without preparation? But I think when you
Jamming.
become, when you've
Yeah.
done, yeah, when you've
Yeah.
done that number of hours and you've become really good, only then can you do that. And I think there are speakers. I mean, I worked a lot with Ken Livingstone, who was brilliant at it. So, and I sat next to him at an event, and he was listening to all the other speeches and he was writing notes on his napkin, enjoying a glass of red wine while he was doing it, and then stood up and delivered the best speech of the night.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant, all off the cuff. But he had done so many. It's that Malcolm Gladwell thing of
Now,
10,000
you
hours.
see, there's the thing, right? There's the thing. We've all seen these amazing singers that are doing their stuff for 20 or 30 years, right? They're not trying to pull it from their conscious brain. They're not trying to remember
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
It's like when we drive a car. You can get to the end of a journey now when you've been driving for 30 years
Yes.
and you can't even remember changing gears or even really
Yeah.
concentrating on it.
Yeah.
When you sing and you know your stuff that well, it comes from your soul, not your consciousness. You with me?
Yes.
Now, that's why people like Ken could actually stop, write a few notes, and all they were doing was they were fitting a little bit extra in, right? So, and to give you an example, a couple of years ago, just before the pandemic, I went to see U2 play in Dublin, and they did a song called Bad, and right in the middle, Bono started singing a verse from, Goodbye Ruby Tuesday, right? Fitted it in and went back to the song. You can only do that when you know the basics so well that it's coming from your subconscious. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
So I suggest to people, when I'm going to do something, when I started out in this business, I practiced everything I was doing somewhere between 2 and 250 times before I would ever do it in front of an audience. I tell a lie. I used to do it in front of the most critical audience of all, that were my 7 teenagers, right? In the kitchen, right here, where we are now, and I would do it in front of them. By God, did they know how to heckle, right? And they, but
I
when
should
you
think
do
so
it,
if they had to watch it 250 times. Yeah.
oh, no, 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 no. I didn't do it to them 250. But when I felt I was ready to do it, I would do it in front of them. And they, by God, would they tell me all the bits I was doing badly. Okay. But then I would go back and keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Now I'm at the point where when I go on to a stage, no matter where it is in the world, I know the things that I want to talk about, and I do break them into 3-minute sections. And then all I'm doing, like a singer downloading a song, I'm downloading from my own internal cloud the next 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the next 3 minutes and the next 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
I use my slides. All my slides ever have are 3 words on them. And all they are is to remind me, like a band has a set list, what I'm going to talk about for the next 3 minutes. Instant download, job done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the bit on giving more, putting the effort in, bringing it from your soul. Okay. And then the other bit that I learned very, very, very early, and I know you used to have a business as a speaker booker. Okay. But I went one further, and I actually spoke to conference organizers. Okay. There's a guy in Dublin here, runs a thing called Pendulum every year, and he has, I've seen Richard Branson speak at it. I've seen Boris Johnson speak at it. I've seen Joe Malone speak at it. These are the kind of people, upwards of 100 grand per speaker type thing. Okay. And I went and I spoke to him and I said, okay, tell me, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night? What is your fear? What do you want in a speaker? If I could ever get there, what do I want to aim for? And he said, it's very simple. He said, 3,000 people over each day for 2 days turn up to this thing. It's £1,000 a ticket. And the worst thing that could ever happen to me would be that they would queue up at the end and say, that was rubbish. I want my money back. And I went, okay, so what do you make sure you have in a speaker? And he said, let me put it to you this way. Number one, how many times have you seen somebody talk at a conference and 90 seconds in you're going, oh Christ, get me out of here, right? And they just don't have the ability to do it, right? So he said, that's the first one I look for, is quality. He said, the second one is, these people come here, yes, they want to learn something new today, but most importantly, they're coming here, they're going to listen to 10 speakers a day for 2 full days. It cannot be monotone, it cannot be dreary, it's got to be entertaining. So entertainment is key. And we know that because the proof is, if you look up the TED website, Sir Ken
Robinson. Yeah.
Robinson's talk, here's the thing, the top 10 most watched, and you're right, the most watched TED Talks, I think it was the top 5 I counted. Every one of them makes the audience laugh once a minute.
Actually, Ken's is 3 times a minute.
It is.
It is.
It is, right?
It is.
This was the point I was going to make.
I'm
Ken's
sorry.
is 3 times a minute.
I'm sorry.
And when you look at the statistics, it's been watched almost 3 times the amount of the one that's number 2. Are you with me?
Yeah, I
Right?
completely
So
agree with
that
you.
goes to
Yeah.
prove it, that entertainment is really important.
Yeah.
And the third one is substance. There's no point in being entertaining, and there's no point in having the ability to stand up and have presence and all that if what you're telling people is rubbish. You with me? Okay. So all I did from that day forth was go. I remember at one stage I had 4 speaking coaches. I had a position on stage coach. I had an NLP person working with me on my inflection and where to stand and opening up the left and the right side of the brain for talking about the future and the past and all that kind of stuff. I had a writing coach, right? And I had a voice coach. Okay. Now, that's a bit like the 5%, the doer, to give me the best trainer in the place, right? And the first year I spent 25,000 euros on training. How many people do you know do that?
my customers.
I've actually been to one of yours with
Yeah. Was it
the
with Mary and
comedy one.
Jamil?
It was the
Oh,
comedy
with
one
comedy. Oh, Jack Milner.
with Jack
Or was
Milner.
it? Or was it
Yes.
Neil? Yeah. Yeah.
No, it
Okay.
was
Cool.
Jack. I flew over to London for it one January
Yeah.
18. Actually, I went over for
Yeah.
that. Great fun.
So actually, Jack's just about to release a book, so that's nice. So we'll make sure we share that. So a couple of comments, by the way, and
Yes.
we. The Facebook user, I'm guessing it's Tom Morley because he's saying, or she's saying, I'm adding an extra 100 hats to my collection now. I think that's got to be Tom. And
That's
then
it probably is. And you know what? Tom was at Jack's gig the same day I was. I remember
I'm
meeting him
sure, I'm
there.
sure.
Yes.
And he's written down the three, I think it's the same person: quality, entertainment, substance. I think that's absolutely, totally agree. Listen, we almost run out of time. It's crazy, right? Because you've got so much money. So let me just ask you a couple of things here.
Yes.
With regards to your speaking, how has that helped your main business?
How has it helped my main business? Staggeringly so. Staggeringly so. So I'm in sales training, sales management training, and we do really high level stuff. Okay. We do stuff where we go into companies with 300 sales staff, and we treat it like the Irish or the English rugby team, where we do tactics training, we do role plays, we get everybody warmed up before they hit the phones for the day and all that kind of stuff. Like it's bonkers stuff, right? Now you can imagine with the effort we need to put into that, it's not cheap. But what happened was, by standing up and speaking at conferences, people see you, and if you come across really well and you've got those three things, it puts you in a different league to all your competitors. You will get far more interest in what you do. You'll close far more sales. But most importantly, when you're on a stage and you do it really well, you are no longer seen as an expert. You're seen as the person that the expert goes to when they get stuck.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Oh, I
Okay.
like that. Say that
Now you
again. That was
see,
really
there
good.
you
Say it
go.
again. Say it
So
again.
when
The
you
ex-
come across really well, you get seen as the person that the expert goes to when they get stuck. And that person is called the authority. So who do you think gets paid the most?
of
The
course.
ordinary person, the expert, or the authority? Are you
The
with me?
authority. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that's the thing that really made the big difference for me. And then it had a knock on effect because I used it originally to speak at conferences. Because here was the thing, and I bring you this is back to the 5%. I only work with the 5%. The problem with the 5% is what? They don't have it tattooed on their forehead, right? So you can't walk down the street and go, you're a 5%, you're a 5%, you're a 5%, you come with me, right? It's not that easy.
I'm gonna write
And
it.
yeah, and the thing is, to try and find 5 really good clients a year under normal circumstances, you'd have to go and meet 100 business owners or whatever it was. Doing 2 presentations a week, that takes a year.
Mm.
Now I get up and I'll stand up in front of anything from 150 to 1,000 people. 5% of the audience will go, I like him. And bingo.
And they'll do something about it because they're
And
the
they'll do something
doers.
about it because they're the doers. And it saves me a year if
Yeah,
I
no, that's
do a
great.
45-minute presentation.
That's great. That's great. I love it. Listen, Peter, I know we could talk forever because you're fascinating to listen to. And actually it is Tom, and he said that we've brought him 3 laughs a minute in his lunchtime snack, which is
Excellent.
lovely. So let's just share. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you and have some more of this Peter magic, you are on LinkedIn. And
I'm
in
on
fact,
LinkedIn, yes.
yes, LinkedIn, Peter Turley, Blood, Sweat and Sales. I quite like that.
Yes.
Yeah, love it, love it. You've also
That's it.
got a free video you're going to share, and I'll put a link.
Well, what I've actually got is I've got a whole series of videos, which are
Oh, even
clips
better.
of stuff that I've done, which are on my YouTube channel, which I
Okay.
think I sent you the link
You've sent me
to.
the link, and we will share the link. And these are
Yes.
to help people increase sales. That's really generous of you.
And it's the sales and getting your message out even as speakers. It's about helping you close those customers, close those speaker bookers, close those conference organizers that you want to get in front of.
Super. And as a final thought, what is
Yes.
your final tip for us?
Your final tip. Okay, and this is a really funny one because I get asked this all the time. What is the best book on this? And what is the best book I've ever read on this? And I cannot, apart from the one I'm writing, of course, at the moment, right?
Yes, of course.
Anyway, no, but I've never found any books that have the whole gambit. Okay, I found tips from this and a little bit from that and the other. But there's one thing I've learned. And if you do this, it will change your life. At the end of every day, when you finish brushing your teeth in front of the bathroom mirror, stand up straight, look yourself in the eye, and ask yourself 2 questions. What did I do today that I need to keep doing? And what did I do today that I need to stop doing? And if you are honest with yourself with those 2 answers, and you go out the next day and don't be a VFFA, be the doer and actually do what you said you would do, that's enough to change your life.
Brilliant. And on those wise words, we will say goodbye to our viewers, and particularly Tom Morley. Thank you for engaging.
Nice to see you, Tom.
Yeah, and Peter, thank you so much. Thank you, Peter.
Not at all. Talk to you soon.
Take care.